Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to ServiceNow Interview Guide. Today, we are going to discuss real-time interview questions of ServiceNow Architect or Solution Architect. So let me share my screen. So the first question is, who is a ServiceNow Architect or Solution Architect? Okay. So you can think a ServiceNow Architect as a person who decide how ServiceNow should work for the whole company, not just for a particular module or one module. Because instead of adding fields or scripts, you are the one, or the solution architect or ServiceNow architect is the one who is designing how data, process, and integration connect with various modules like ITSM, HR, CSM, and other applications. Okay. So for example, when a company wants a new employee onboarding journey, okay, to be set up there, you decide which table to use, how IT, HR, and facilities fit together, connect together, and how ServiceNow talk to Active Directory and emails. Okay, all these things are your designing. So after you provide all this design and everything, okay, developer and admins follow your design and build all these things in details. But you are finally ultimately responsible for the whole design and solution, which is scalable, secure, and easy to maintain. So this is the kind of work which a solution architect or a ServiceNow architect is doing. Next question is, how ServiceNow architect is different from a senior developer? So you can say that a senior developer usually think at a story level, okay? Meaning they focus on how to build a requirement using script, flow, and widget. The main focus of senior developer is to handle the implementation details for a specific feature or for one or two modules, okay, at a time. Whereas as ServiceNow architect, you take a step back and ask the broader questions like whether the solution should be built in that way at all, okay, and what impact it will have on the performance, it will have on the security and future upgrade. It means you are checking the complete ecosystem there and then providing your answers. Okay, so basically we can say that a ServiceNow architect is whole soul responsible for complete implementation of a bigger projects. Okay, and looking after each and every aspect of the project, not only just implementation and moving the code from one place to another. Okay, so you can think a platform owner as a person who is responsible of defining why and what from the business perspective. Okay, whereas as an architect, you are responsible for defining how from the technical perspective. This is the main difference here. Because the platform owner focuses more on the roadmap planning, budgeting, and deciding which business area should be adopted in the next release, okay, in ServiceNow basically. On the other hand, architect focus on the data model, CSDM, CMDB integration, and technical standards that are required to make the roadmap as a reality. Okay, so guys, before you move forward, I have a good news to share with you. So in my English channel as well as in my Hindi channel, I have opened the membership, and this membership is there for someone who is looking to learn ServiceNow from scratch. Okay, even though you are not a technical person, but this is for you, and we already have started with various videos with respect to ServiceNow admin. After that, we are going to discuss ServiceNow development, asset management, web services, all the courses which are there to provide a complete foundation for a ServiceNow developer or ServiceNow architect. Okay, so we go in deep in both English and Hindi. So if you want, you can subscribe to our membership, because this is the only platform here in which you see the structured content on the latest release of ServiceNow, that is Australia or whatever comes there. Okay, so I am giving you live demos, I am giving you great examples. Thank you so much. See you soon. Next question is, what are the main responsibilities of a ServiceNow architect? So basically, a ServiceNow architect is responsible for designing end-to-end solutions, okay, that often span across various modules or applications, such as ITSM, ITOM, HR, CSM, SecOps, and even for custom applications as well. This is because, real-world processes such as a new application rollout or a major incident flow usually involve multiple modules. It's not limited to a single module. And one is connected to other, one is dependent on other, and you can see there is an integration already. So therefore, you should define standards for data, such as how services should be modeled, integrations, such as how external systems should be connected, and most important, security, such as how roles and ACL should be structured and managed, okay, in such a cases. So looking after all these things and managing it properly is the responsibility of a ServiceNow architect. Next question, how do you approach designing a new application on ServiceNow? Okay, good question. So in this case, you have to start with the data models instead of directly, jumping into form and user interface designing. Because once you clearly understand what entities you are storing, like request, approval, asset, okay, and how they're related, the rest of the design become much easier and much more structured, okay, in a simple way. For example, in the case of, let's say, visitor pass management application, okay, there is a application here. You first decide whether to extend the task table or create a new table, okay, how visitor, host, and location data will be stored, where they will be stored, and how they are related to the CMDB configuration items. So after defining the data model, you can design the life cycle or the complete workflow there, such as first requested, then approved, then active, and then finally closed. Okay, so you can choose various things which are available in ServiceNow, such as flow designers for approvals, okay, and a service portal page for user submission. So this should be the simplest approach whenever somebody is, designing a new application in ServiceNow. Let's move to the next question. How do you use CSDM and CMDB in your architecture design? Okay, CMDB and CSDM are closely related. So you have to use CSDM and CMDB to ensure that the services, applications, and infrastructure are modeled in a centralized and standardized way instead of being scattered across custom fields, custom tables, on n number of tables. Okay, so if you know what is CSDM, you can easily design a wonderful CMDB. So this is the main logic here. Okay, this is important because if each team creates its own way of storing service data, it leads to inconsistency, and obviously the reporting is unreliable, or you can say horrible. Okay, so you have to work in such a way that you implement CMDB and CSDM is there to guide you. Okay, and focus on both. Let's move to the next question. How do you design integration for ServiceNow? Okay. So basically, in this case, you should always begin by asking some key questions, such as which system is the source of truth for data, number one. Then how frequently the data is needed to be synchronized, number two. And then whether real-time integration is needed or not, or it is just a near real-time sufficient. Okay. So all these questions you have to ask yourself, you have to ask to the client before designing the integration. We have to ask these questions because different use cases require different integration approach, and we have to find out which is the best one for us. Okay, so after having all this, we can go ahead and design certain integrations. And one more thing, after you design the approach, you also have to design the error handling mechanism, such as the failed records or failed integration, how you handle the logs, okay, how you report the issues, and then finally, how you prevent duplicate messages and all and all. All these things you have to take care while designing the integration. Let's move to the next question. How do you ensure performance and scalability in your design? Okay. Okay, good question. Performance is very key factor here. And you have to consider performance from the very beginning of your design process. Instead of addressing it after you have designed everything or after you get some issues. No, this is not the right approach. You have to think well in advance at the design level itself. Okay. So why I am saying this? This is because, even small design choices such as placing heavy queries in the business rule on large tables, okay, can lead to serious performance issue as the data increases. Okay, when you test it in sub production, it is fine, but as soon as you move it to production and data keeps on increasing, you have to consider all this, all these type of things well in advance in the sub production as well. Okay. In addition to that, you can also plan for data management strategies such as, archiving or cleanup, where older data or older records are moved to archive tables so that the primary tables remain optimized, and there will be less delay, okay, less issue in the transactions when the data grows. So all these things you have to take care. Next question is, how do you handle a heavy customized brownfield environment as an architect? Okay, so what is a brownfield environment? If you know it, so write down in the comment section what is a brownfield environment. So coming back to this question, in the case of brownfield environment, you should not start, by attempting to rebuild everything from scratch. Instead, you have to understand the current system. You have to understand the problems of the current system, okay, and then try to address it. It is because, there are certain customizations which may be critical for the business operations, and it is well designed, okay, while there are others which may be a technical depth. So that's why analysis of all these things is very important here. Okay. So after that, once you have complete analysis, complete details with you, you can create a realistic roadmap, such as planning a cleanup drive. Okay. Mostly for each quarter. Okay. And also ensure new developments follow your new style of architecture. Okay. And you slowly update the backlog and make the system good again. Finally, the last question is, how do you balance perfect architecture versus delivering something practical on ServiceNow? So basically, you should understand one thing here, that achieving a perfectly designed architecture is kind of rarely possible, okay, in the real-time projects, in the real-time project timelines, basically. But being an architect, you must still protect certain, critical principles. This is because you cannot compromise on the core aspects such as data modeling and security that can lead to significant, long-term issues. So you cannot compromise these things at least. Okay. So therefore, you decide which element must be corrected from the beginning. So once you have taken care of these things, after that, you have, or you can take the opportunities to start shortcuts on certain things. Okay. But you clearly document them, and also you must communicate all these trade-offs to the stakeholders as well. So ladies and gentlemen, this is it for today's video. Please subscribe, share, and let us know your feedback. Thank you. Bye-bye.